Warhammer 40k is most well known for its over-the-top warfare with the Space Marines, the Imperium of Man, Chaos, and various other Xenos species that fight to control the galaxy. It is also well known for the horrors and strange alien creatures that can be found in the millions of planets all over the Milky Way. But did you know that even the void, the empty vacuum of space, has its fair share of horrifying creatures and entities, some of which are as large as warships and others as big as entire planets? So here in this video, we will showcase 11 of these void creatures and entities that haunt the vast cold emptiness between worlds. Creatures that defy the laws of physics and biology, monsters that break the laws of reality and add to the grim darkness of it all. Let's get to it. The first here are called the Cryptus. The Cryptus are a nightmare drawn from the darkest corners of space, an alien threat so strange that they defy explanation. Picture something drifting through the void between stars. These beings aren't solid, like most things we know, but instead exist as a greenish cloud of plasmic energy. They are not alive in a way that we understand life, but alive they still are. When Cryptus find humans, they don't come with weapons of war or with claws. They come for the mind. They seep into people through the skin, through breath, and settle deep within. These Cryptus, they hollow people out, wearing their bodies like costumes, keeping just enough of the host intact to fool everyone else. They use human communities like shields, blending in while feeding on the host's mind, learning what it's like to be human while keeping one step ahead of the Inquisition. Whatever they're running from out there in the void, it must be something truly horrific because they cling to secrecy with desperation that borders on madness. Though alien to most human emotions like happiness, sadness, or love, they do have one feeling though, which is fear. A fear of something in the void that they are running from. Number 2. The Void Flukes. The Void Fluke is a kind of horror that lurks in the back of your mind whenever you venture into the endless dark. Imagine a lamprey-like creature but born of the void, with a serpentine body that glides silently through the cold expanse of space. Its mouth is a grotesque sucker ringed with jagged teeth, and it lives to feed not on flesh, but on metal. These things haunt the forgotten corners of space, found in ore-rich asteroid fields, in derelict ships, space hulks, and if one is particularly unlucky, the exterior of their void suit. They are patient predators, drifting in silence until they latch onto something. A Void Fluke's bite doesn't just breach armor, it turns it into a death sentence. The instant the person's suit ruptures, they are exposed to the unforgiving vacuum of space, gasping and clawing at the emptiness of space. However, Void Flukes don't seem to care for augmetics or machine bodies of the members of the Mechanicus. It's almost as if they respect the Mechanicus in some strange, unknowable way, or maybe they just know that when a meal isn't worth the effort. Number 3. The Plasmic Medusa. These creatures were introduced in the game called Battlefleet Gothic Armada 2 and were seen in the Imperial campaign called The Rise of Cadia. These Plasmic Medusas are warship-sized void creatures composed of ionized gas and plasma. They drift through space in large numbers, and they appear to be similar in body structure to a jellyfish, but with a multiple disc-shaped head or lobes on their head, with several tentacles and a thick lizard-like tail. Though they are not aggressive or antagonistic, they are still dangerous though. The Medusa's bodies are loaded with a huge amount of plasmic energy, and if they are destroyed by any means, the creatures will explode and cause collateral damage. They do so with enough force to heavily damage warships and other stuff that is nearby in their vicinity. Number 4. The Void Karadon. In the Dark Heresy, the disciples of the Dark Gods, in chapter 3 called Xenos, the Threat of Destruction, the Void Karadons were introduced, and they are highly dangerous Xenos species rumored to be dangerous predators of outer space. There is still a big mystery as to how they look like, but if we go by the name Karadon, they probably might be space sharks. The Imperium has declared these species to be too hazardous to be allowed to live and has them destroyed wherever they are encountered. The exact words in the book are, "Some non-sentient species, be they dangerous predators like the feared Void Karadon,
or ecology-destroying vermin, such as the Zothic blood locusts, are simply too hazardous to live wherever encountered.
Number 5. The Augt. This creature is described in the Liber Xenologus, the Apocryphorum. The Augt are, in hushed tones whispered by the Voidfarers, as legendary horrors lurking in the endless black. Supposedly, these gargantuan creatures resemble monstrous leeches or annelids, which are another word for worms. They slither silently through the void, undetected until it's far too late. Skeptics like the famed xenologist called Janus Drake dismiss them as pure myth, figments of drunken imaginations or overblown tales from desperate survivors. The legends paint a terrifying picture. The Augt are said to be so vast that they can coil around their void ship victims, their crushing embrace rupturing hulls and spilling screaming crew into the void of space. And that is before they feed. The Augt don't simply destroy, they devour. According to some accounts, they don't even need to consume the ship's physical structure. Instead, they feed on the essence of their victims, like life, hope, and sanity, all drain away into the endless mouth of their unfathomable embrace. Number 6. The Terate bioships. Of course, we would be missing out on 90% of the void creatures, in biomass terms, if we don't take the Terate bioships into consideration. These bioships are living nightmares. They are massive bioforms bred to serve as both spacecraft and factories for the hive fleets. These monstrous organisms, controlled by the hive mind, come in endless grotesque forms, each tailored for a specific purpose for the hive. From the gargantuan hive ships that churn out legions of ground troops to the predatory void prowlers and the eerie narvals that manipulate gravity for faster than light travel between star systems. The biggest ever seen was called the Ancient One. It was a leviathan of the void, clocking in at a staggering 30 to 40 kilometers long and weighing in at over 100 megatons. The Ancient One was the size of a small moon. Its physical description included stone-like armor plating, which gives it a bio-fortress-like appearance in the void. Number 7. The Void Kraken. Void Krakens are the stuff of nightmares. These are ancient monsters lurking in the silent, endless dark between stars. Picture something the size of a medium-sized moon, 50 to 100 kilometers across, and alive. These silicon-based horrors don't bleed, they don't breathe, and they don't stop. Their flesh is harder than plasteel, and their tentacles are vast. They are segmented appendages capable of crushing starships like toys. Void Krakens are solitary predators, and their reproduction is as alien as they are. They split a small part of themselves and hurl it at an asteroid or a barren planetoid, with the torn part slowly regenerating into a fully grown kraken after centuries. This grotesque division happens in the cold of space with no witness, at least none that have lived to tell a tale. Their hunger for metal and purity of concentration of such metal on void ships drives them to attack any that crosses their path. Once they latch on, they burrow into the hull with their tentacles, exposing the crew to the void, and then, after the ship has stopped resisting, the Kraken would then seem to become docile again, slowly eating away the metal, but at the same time becoming curious on whatever it has in its grasp. Number 8. The Void Whales. Void Whales are the titans of space, utterly dwarfing even the Krakens. These monsters are not just creatures, they are ecosystems. A juvenile baby void whale is seen to be the size of an Imperial warship, and the adults are just stupendous in scale. But these gargantuan entities are more than just big, they are bizarre. They drift through the void and sometimes even through the warp, their massive bodies creating a gravitational disturbance that can cripple nearby ships. Their flesh is home to parasitic creatures, entire ecosystems of insidious, warp-twisted life forms that nest in their insides, in their folds and crevices. It is said that boarding a void whale is like stepping into another dimension, with creatures lurking in the shadows, waiting to feast on intruders. The biggest one of them all was a warp-corrupted specimen that was stated to be 12,000 miles in length, which means more than 19,000 kilometers. That makes it longer than the diameter of the Earth. And again, in 877 of M41, another hideous mutated void whale emerged from the warp, and was subsequently destroyed by the space wolves led by Kraken Doom. Number 9. Oyunus. Oyunus is one of the most grotesque nightmares lurking in the Eye of Terror, a demon world devoted to the depraved whims of Slaanesh. He isn't just a planet. He is a living, breathing horror, an impossibly massively, morbidly obese man curled up in a fetal position, with his fleshy mass spanning the size of a world. This isn't a metaphor. It is the surface of Oyunus, which is clammy, which has bloated skin, which is a landscape of greasy folds and cavernous pores that ooze sickly fluids. The inhabitants of this grotesque realm are no less horrifying. Slaaneshi demons dance and cavort in endless ecstasy, with their forms being a nauseating blend of beauty and monstrosity. Hedonistic beastmen roam the fleshy plains, their worship of excess and violence matching the planet's own dark spirit. And then there are the Noise Marines, those twisted Astartes who have abandoned all sense of restraint to revel in the gifts of Slaanesh. They've made their homes inside the planet-sized man's pores. Dark, reeking caverns that pulse with every sluggish beat of his grotesque heart. Number 10. Komus, the Tyrant Star. Komus, also called the Tyrant Star, is more than just a celestial oddity. It is a bad omen, a cosmic death sign for entire worlds. Imagine a pitch-black sun hanging in the void, blotting out hope, casting an oppressive shadow that feels alive. When Komus appears, it brings more than just darkness, it brings despair and a sign of the end times. Madness spreads like wildfire, people turn on each other. Even the most devout whisper doubts about the Emperor's light going out. The halo of black flame isn't just a poetic description, it is an unnatural distortion of reality itself, like the warp bleeding through the thin veil of existence. Its unholy ruin resembles a clawed bird's foot, often appearing or etched into surfaces, sometimes burned into flesh or carved into stone by trembling hands. Scholars theorize Komus is a warp entity, a shadow of some terrible god yet to fully manifest, but appears to be traveling from star system to another, in the void of space. But others believe it is a wound in space-time, a ghostly projection of some dead or dying star in the Imperium. At roughly the size of a black dwarf star, smaller than Terra but no less terrifying, Komus is more than just a celestial body. It is a harbinger of death, but on a cosmic scale. And number 11. The Katan Star Gods. The Katan are among the oldest, most terrifying entities in the galaxy. They are ancient even beyond the scope of mortal comprehension. They were born at the dawn of time, spawned from the swirling gases and raw energy that flooded the newborn universe. At their core, they are beings of pure energy, etheric in nature, untouchable, and almost incomprehensible. In their original form, the Katan were monstrous cosmic predators. They fed on the immense power of entire suns. When a star is consumed by them, the Katan would use ethereal wings formed from electromagnetic forces of the universe to drift onto the next star. But their hunger grew more complex. They craved not just energy, but something richer, something alive. That's when they encountered the Necrontyr. These mortals answered their call, forging necrodermis bodies of living metal for the Katan to inhabit, giving their energy forms physical shape for the first time. What followed was nothing short of a nightmare. With their new physical forms, the Katan introduced to the Necrontyr the concept of biotransference, a dark process that stripped their very souls and bound their consciousness into lifeless mechanical shells, while the Katan fed on the Necron's souls. Thus the Necrons were born, immortal but soulless, slaves to the star gods they had worshipped. After a long time of servitude and slaughter, the Necrons, led by the silent king called Zarek, rose up against their creators and succeeded in shattering the Katan into shards, which were then put within strange devices like the Tesseract Labyrinth for the use of the Necrons in war.